Welcome to the Paranormal Plains, where we share oddities, curiosities, cryptids, and strange stories from the upper Midwest. This is Casey, coming from Minnesota.
You betcha, and this is Leslie, coming from North Dakota.
So what kind of fun and exciting and super spoopy stories do you have for me this week, Leslie?
Well, this one is not so much scary, but it is a mystery.
Oh.
This time we're covering a mystery that still continues to this day. The validity of the Minnesota Runestone.
Ooh.
I would always see billboards for it when I go through Alexandria. Did you know about this thing?
Supposedly some Vikings came to, Minnesota at one point.
Oh, okay. Have you already picked a side then?
I'm of the side that would be super cool if a bunch of Vikings came over, were chilling out.
Yeah, it is a really cool idea. Well, I will give you some facts.
Spit some straight facts.
Yes, I will give you some facts, and then you can let me know what you think afterwards.
Okay.
So, it is 1898, and Swedish immigrant Olof Oman is clearing some of his land for plowing. Tangled in the roots of a tree, he found a 200-pound, ancient-looking tablet with runic markings.
Ooh.
He named it the Kensington Runestone, after the near settlement. That's actually what it's called, not the Minnesota Runestone. However, when a copy of this inscription made its way to the University of Minnesota, the professor of Scandinavian languages immediately declared it a forgery.
Aww.
They sent it to the University of Illinois, and they said it was a hoax.
No.
So I've sent you a picture of it.
Okay.
You can take a look, and I'll tell you what the stone actually even says.
All right. I opened up the email. Ooh, look at this.
Yeah. So written on it is what seems to be a record left by Nordic explorers in 1362. There's in the pictures that I sent Casey, there's 9 lines of text on the front of this sort of slab, and then there's 3 on the side.
Yeah, so it's interesting that it's every surface is covered. So yeah, it's about, I don't know, what's the scale? Maybe 1 or 2 feet high?
Yeah, about that. 2
and
maybe
a
3.
foot along, and it's kind of smooth on the front, but not perfectly smooth. It's chiseled onto the surface, so it doesn't look like there's anything missing necessarily.
Like you're saying, it doesn't look weathered and ancient enough.
Well, no, it's like the surface of the stone isn't even, but it looks like it was carved in despite that. You know what I mean? So whoever was carving it was carving on an uneven surface, and all I know is Futhark for runes, right? But I'm that looks like some Tolkien dwarvish script.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what it says. It's pretty short. It says 8 Geats and 22 Norwegians on an exploration journey from Vinland to the west. We had camp by 2 skerries, 1 day's journey north from this stone. We were out to fish one day. After we came home, we found 10 men red of blood and dead. Ave Virgo Maria, save us from evil. And then on the side it says, we have 10 men by the sea to look after our ships, 14 days travel from this island, year 1362. So basically it's a story of, some adventurers coming down, they went out to fish, and when they came back, a whole bunch of their men were dead. And they're saying that they had ships anchored and some guys to watch them. So that's basically the story.
So yeah, some people went on a really bad road trip and decided to memorialize it and then leave it there for other people to find.
Yeah, can you believe this?
So with the translation, whose translation is this then, as far as what it says?
This is the translation on the internet.
Oh.
It is. I went there, every different translations and the translation they have on the wall and everything. It's all really the same thing.
Okay.
No one's in disagreement of what it says. There might be a few disagreements over some of the wording.
Right, the grammar.
But yeah, well, the runes are in dispute sort of whether or not they're old or new rune usage, but we will get into that.
Okay.
So after it was declared a hoax by experts, the stone was sent back to Oman. They didn't want it. He sold it to a historian and author named Hjalmar Holland. May have pronounced that incorrectly, but he believed that it was real. And so he bought it for $10, which is $270 in today's money. And he spent the next 40 years trying to renew public interest in it and sway people into thinking that this was real. Because he was convinced, I guess.
Yeah, when you sink $200 into something, you want it to be legit. You don't want to buy something on Amazon for $200 and it comes in as, Alibaba fake, and you want everyone to believe it's real.
Right. That's what I was thinking when I was first looking at this, but at the same time, I don't know if it's so much so that he owned it, so obviously he wanted to promote it.
Right.
But he did so much writing about this, and he staked his career kind of, and it sounds like this is just what he did for the rest of his life. So I think he really did believe in this.
He was dedicated.
Yeah, I think he was actually convinced. And he did have some success. Like, some scholars did publish support for its authenticity. It was in the Smithsonian for a while.
Oh.
And, yeah, it appeared at the 1965 New York World's Fair.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah. Kind of cool. When it went out to the World's Fair, they made this huge, like, kind of cartoony Viking statue to go with it. It still is in Alexandria, Minnesota. It's just down the street from the Rune Museum. Yeah, so you can go see it. And you can, like, see the old black and white photos of him at the World's Fair, so it's kind of cool to see it. And they also had plush of him in the gift shop. I thought it was cute. I know. So, hoax or not?
All right.
There is so much back and forth on this. It's, like, hard to keep up. It's like a tennis match. Like, all experts, it seems like, who have studied it, linguists, have said this is definitely a 19th century system of runes.
Okay.
But then, like, one professor will pop up and be like, you know, oh, we found, like, one example of this rune being used in the 14th century, so there you go, you know?
Oh, so, I mean, maybe this is just me being super ignorant. Were runes in use in the 19th century? Like...
Oh, they were, my friend. Wait. I was shocked as well. Like, I know of runes as, like, Etsy store, like, knick-knack stuff you can buy. Or, you know, people who actually use them for, like, fortune-telling and stuff. But
Right. Like, I knew, like, the system for divination.
Yeah, I don't think of them as being used for writing, though. Which is...
Yeah!
I don't think they are anymore, but it was...
Yeah.
Oh, it was in the, like, turn of the century. So they were used by Vikings in places to mark exactly, like, what this was.
Yo, we were here. What up?
Information. Yeah, that kind of thing. I think there weren't any in Iceland. Damn, Greenland? Anyway, they did use these, so it's not like a weird thing that something would be written in it for this hoax.
So how did Olaf figure out how to, like, carve runes into a stone and use, like, a proper alphabet? Assuming, of course, this is a hoax.
We're not even there yet, girl. We're not even there yet.
I'm jumping ahead.
I'm still giving you information about the back and forth for this hoax.
Bring me back.
Or, I'm sorry, alleged hoax.
Right.
So there's also the fact that there's almost no weathering on it. Mm-hmm. But in 2003, an analysis concluded that the inscriptions were more than 200 years old.
Oh, okay.
A scientist at the Minnesota Historical Society subjected the stone to weathering test and determined that the writing was 500 years old.
Oh.
But I think these tests are both contested, and the scientific testing of the time isn't, like, as accurate as it was now.
Right. Mm-hmm. So
it sounds like there's been a lot of testing that's gone into this. I read an article in the Star Tribune that just in March this year, they were saying a Swedish group is going to be performing an authenticity test on it. Well, not on the runestone, on a whetstone that was found, like, a few feet under where the runestone was found. I don't know. If something comes in, maybe we can have an update for you, but this is something that people are still interested in. Like, this mystery really does continue. Like, people still want to test it and find out, so.
As it should, because that's super cool. I mean, I guess it doesn't have any practical implication, but all the cool stuff usually doesn't have practical implications.
Well, I mean, I don't know. If Vikings really were this far inland, it would be pretty interesting.
Right, I think it'd be super cool, and I think Olaf and his benefactor would appreciate the vindication.
Yes, that's another thing. I really think that a bit of a sad story we'll get to in a bit, but some other damning evidence for this is there was sort of like a renaissance of interest in Vikings at the time. It was like as if a Viking Marvel movie had just come out.
or a TV series on the History Channel about Vikings.
Right.
So what year was this?
This was...
For this Viking revival.
So he found it in 1898.
Okay, so we had Viking revival in 1898, and we had Viking revival in, like, 2016, and now...
It's cyclical.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cyclical Viking interest.
There had been, like, a display of a Viking ship in Chicago a few years beforehand. Journey of Leif Erikson to North America was being, like, widely discussed. And just in general, it was, like, really coincidental for, just this Scandinavian immigrant who just got here, found this rock saying we had been here all along, you know?
Yeah. What happens if he found it someplace else, brought it over to America, and then buried it and found it again?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because that is something with hoaxes. There have been like hoaxes like this in the past, and a long time that's what it was, where they purchased old stuff and then just said they unearthed it here. So, though I don't know what kind of.
What are you doing, bro?
I guess he could have brought it with him from Sweden, but who knows? I feel like there's so much conflicting evidence about this because people do, like we were talking before, people really want it to be real because that would be cool. Mm-hmm. So, for example, people maybe are willing to skew things a little. There was an additional point where some people in the area said the tree that the runestone was even like wrapped in, it was actually only 30 to 40 years old.
Oh no.
Yeah, but then other people were like, no, it was like really old. You know, they want to believe it's real, so they're willing to, you know, put that aside. I think it's just kind of a cool story. So people want it to be real, and maybe that's partially why it continues to this day. Casey, am I correctly assuming that you're kind of on the same page that this is probably a hoax?
I mean, absolutely real. Definitely on the same page.
Okay. No. So I haven't convinced you then. All right. Well, you would have to speak to some European linguists then, runologists, because it sounded very much every time they brought this to Europe to try and be evaluated, they were like, no, this is obviously fake. But meanwhile, in Minnesota, everyone was like, is it real?
But
is it
maybe
not?
it's
And they were
real.
like, no, it's not real.
But have you considered?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe it's real.
Yeah. Like, it's not, there's like a lot of discussion about it here. But then in Europe, please take this away. It's not real. Like, that's what it sounded like. So that was my opinion, was that it was a hoax. So you can imagine my surprise when I went to the Minnesota Runestone Museum in Alexandria, where they have it, and they seem to be very much on the side that it was real. I mean, I guess they have it, so they want to promote it, but...
They might be biased.
Yeah, there was a bit of a bias. They had on display, or they mentioned artifacts that have been found in Minnesota and North Dakota that they attribute to Norse settlers. Do you remember hearing anything about this in school? Because I mean, I don't know about you. I did not grow up hearing that there was anything other than, you know, Native American people in this area. Yeah. But they had many artifacts trying to say that this...
So, like what? Like, what kind of evidence did they have that...
So, there was a fire steel found in Climax, Minnesota, that they said is shaped differently and made differently than the ones that natives had at this time, and this kind is only found in Scandinavian museums.
Is that evidence of like Norse settlers, or is that evidence that trade was extremely widespread from like the coast all the way inland?
I mean, that could possibly be. I'll say it would have traveled a very long way.
Yeah. And to not be broken.
They also had in like this video, they mentioned a bone found in 1905 near Bismarck that they said had runic writing on it, which is the other picture I sent you.
All right, we're gonna go back to the inbox.
I had never heard of this, and so I looked it up, and I couldn't find like anything.
Okay, that's like...
Do those look like runes to you?
Yeah, I forget which one it is, but it's like inside the peace sign, right? So the peace sign is like come from...
Or like an upside down chicken foot track.
Yes.
Almost.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Mm-hmm. Did they like carbon date this at all, or like have a approximate...
But the thing is, I think it's the Native American artifact. I don't think it's like a Viking artifact,
right?
You know? Like, so it's...
Yeah.
I mean, this could be anything, really.
Yeah, like, it's a coincidence that it's got a similar symbol on it.
Like, the main thing, though, is it's not a sentence in runes. It's, like, one symbol over and over and over and over again.
Right, so it'd be just, like...
counting something.
Yeah.
It could be anything.
I'm gonna carve... Ah!
Right? Yeah, so I don't think it's runes on the bone. What do I know? Yeah, that's my take on it, and I was just surprised that it was so forthrightly be like...
Right, this is totally...
as you all know, there was a bone found in Bismarck that had runes on it, and I was like, what?
Yeah, let me get out my book of runes, and I can tell you which ones they are. I can't pronounce these.
Casey's about to retranslate the Kensington Runestone for us.
So the bone, the first one is an inverse of, I cannot say these correctly, alges.
Oh, let's hear it.
Alges. I don't know. I can't even speak English. And then the second one is, okay, well, it's not what I thought it was. The second one is one that is not in my book, so. I can cannot confirm or deny.
So therefore it's up. It's up in the air.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right. So really, I think the real mystery of the Kensington Runestone is who did this hoax. Some people think that Omen did it. Even though he wasn't highly educated, he could have been helped. He was friends with a teacher and a former minister who was known as a prankster and had grown up in an area of Sweden particularly known for its numerous runic inscriptions.
Oh. So he just, like, copied it, made it, buried it, found it!
No, it's not a copy. Yeah, it's not a copy of anything. So that's why I'm saying I think, like, clearly a lot of people knew these runes.
So, like, the stone...
Like, they knew this systematic writing. So he just wrote it, and that's why it's in 19th century runes. Because he knew how to write in this system, and so he just made up this message. Allegedly. He did know this guy who... it's like an area of Sweden that had a lot of those stones that I was talking about, like, that were just around. So, yeah, they knew that system of writing, so he could have done it. And apparently he was also acquainted with a widely known Swedish runologist. That's what I found somewhere. So apparently Minnesota was just overrun with Swedish rune wizards at this time.
And pranksters.
All right, follow this one. There were interviews with the son of Omen's neighbor who said that their father told him it was Omen who made the inscription.
That neighbor's a narc.
Yeah, well, no, the son. Yeah, the son's the narc. Yeah, but, and again, that's all, like, secondhand, so I don't know if you can really count that. I mean, it's definitely, like, my neighbor's dad's dog said...
Horse pig ghost from the fair.
So in the opposite camp of it being Omen, he swore to his dying day that the stone was real. And he suffered ridicule because of it. The museum, I learned that his daughter left home because she couldn't deal with this, all the notoriety, and one of his sons committed suicide because of it.
Oh, shit. Because if that's a prank, that prank went horribly wrong.
Yeah, that's why I really feel bad, because if it wasn't Omen, then all he did was unearth this and was like, look, I found it, what do you want? And then... I mean, or if he did do it, though, he caused all this tragedy. So I don't know what's worse.
Oh, no. What happens? What happens if somebody was pulling a prank on him and then it just blew up?
Yeah, so here's another test for you. Organic material tests revealed that the stone had been buried for about 25 years before Omen found it. And at that time, he still would have been back in Sweden. So if that test is true, then yeah, it wasn't him.
Right.
So that led people to suspect this other guy who also knew runes. He was a musician who had been in the area at that time, like 25 years beforehand, and apparently he wrote in the same non-standard runes that are used in the Kensington inscription.
So he was pulling a prank on somebody.
Yeah, it could be.
It just happened to be the long game.
Right. So isn't that sad?
Oh.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Poor dude was just trying to farm.
Right. I mean, in the end, that's pretty much all he was trying to do. He wanted to get rid of some trees. And this is what happened. Maybe the Lorax is playing this trick on him.
Right, yeah.
Punishment. So we kind of have like this whole lineup of characters here. Hopefully that Swedish group will do their testing and we can get some sort of answer about it, but who knows?
Once and for all.
Yeah. Maybe they'll come back and be like, it's 6,000 years old! Like, it's like, yeah, it just gets even worse. Yeah, so that's kind of what I have on the runestone, though I did want to mention that there have been several other faked runestones in the Midwest.
Oh, boy.
And, yeah, and it's funny, a lot of these sort of, like, link back to the Kensington Runestone. It was, like, the father of these hoaxes. And a lot of them, again, with people wanting to believe in this, I feel like a lot of them were done to try and support the runestone, but really it does the opposite.
Yeah, detracts from it.
Yeah.
I think it's so cool. I forget who did, like, tested the hypothesis of sailing technology and being able to sail, you know, from Africa to South America, and like the population of like Polynesia, and it's just like emigration, you know, of the Americas and population, like just knowing how much humans are capable of is so cool.
Right.
That's such a fun story to get behind. How can we like not like the idea of ancient humans all around the world doing like awesome exploration?
I gotta go through these runestones because some of them have great stories.
Oh, yes.
So there was the AVM runestone. It was a hoax planted near the site of the Kensington Runestone by some, like, medieval study college students.
Oh, no.
And they did this in 1985, but it wasn't found until 2001. So one of these students who now, like 15 years later, is like the chair of the dramatic studies department at this university had to be like, ooh, yeah, that was us. Like, ooh. There's the Elbow Lake Runestone. It was another Minnesota hoax planted by a farmer. It was like very similar to this story. The Beardmore relics, they were Viking Age relics in Ontario, Canada. They were planted by a prospector. And so those, yeah, I believe he purchased those and then buried them or said he found them. And yeah, there were several Oklahoma runestones. Some were planted by a Swedish immigrant who worked at the local train station and was bored, I guess. And some are actually Native American artifacts. And then this is my favorite. I might mispronounce this, but the Verendrye runestone. So it was allegedly found around Minot, North Dakota in the 1730s by a French-Canadian explorer, and it has this great myth. Supposedly, it disappeared after it was sent back to Quebec to be studied, but it's been claimed that it was shipped with other artifacts to a church in Rouen, France, only to be buried under a pile of rubble when the building which housed it was destroyed during World War II.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But the Minnesota Historical Society has offered a $1,000 reward for its free discovery.
Oh, well, you know what that means. It's gonna go sift through some rubble that, you know, a house is probably built over it.
I know. I mean, in reality, I'm sure this stone probably never even existed.
Right.
Also, I don't know who in like the 1940s was like, you know where it'd be safe to store this? France. Like,
yeah, right.
No one thought that. Yeah, as far as real examples of Norse people in North America, there was a Norse settlement that was found at Lands O' Meadows in Newfoundland, Canada. So they were, yeah, I mean, I think most people know that by now, but yeah, they were in North America. There's only one pre-Columbian Norse artifact that's like kind of sort of believed to possibly be genuine in the United States, and that's the Maine penny. It's a Norse coin that they found in Maine, but it's not, it's like what we were talking about before. It's not that they think Vikings visited Maine. Just like you were saying, they think that it was traded to natives in Newfoundland and then it moved like all the way down the coast to Maine, which I think is pretty cool. So yeah, but it also could have been planted. Some people do think that it was an old coin that he bought and then planted, the guy who found it. So
right.
There's no magic left in this world. Ugh. Everything's a hoax.
No, everything's bad. This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was like super interesting. I think it's probably not real, but
that's definitely like one of those. I'm trying to think of examples of that, of like things that we think are real but aren't, like the taste maps of the tongue is like not a real thing. Oh. You know, but it's
really?
Right. See, it's you don't actually have different regions. Like you don't have like the salty and like the bitter and like all that bullshit. Like, or maybe I think maybe the back of the tongue is slightly different, but yeah, it's not like you taste salt on the sides.
Is real.
No, but there's like 3 different types of taste buds, but it's not like different flavors. I can't remember. Anatomy was like 8 years ago, but yeah, you don't have the taste bud map is fake, but that keeps getting, like, I got taught that in elementary school. It just keeps getting into perpetuity of this falseness. So I had this preconceived notion that there was like this runestone. It was like totally legit. No, it's not.
Yeah. I don't know. I bet people in Alexandria, if you ask them, be like, it's real, okay?
It's really, really real.
Yeah.
Come to our gift shop.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that I learned a little bit of something today, and I was able to crush some of like magic and preconceived notions of the world like out of my skull.
There's a little less magic in the world, huh?
Yeah, it's good though. We don't need any magic right now. Well, sweet. Now that you've crushed all my hopes and dreams of ever finding a legitimate runestone in my backyard.
Yeah, so how was your week? Any new ghosts for us?
Actually, yes. Ooh. Yeah, so last week I was doing an inspection at this old, well, okay, it wasn't super old, but it was like this house turned coffee shop. And there was these 2 gals working, and I was like, do you have any food anywhere else? And they're like, you have a basement. They're like, yeah. So we go down these narrow stairs.
What? No, stop storing things in the basement.
The compromise I get is if they just don't store the food directly under the sewer line, that's a win.
You're saying it for health reasons. I'm saying it for ghost reasons.
For paranormal safety. And so I was like, yeah, you guys got any ghost stories? And she was like, yeah, actually, when I first started, apparently there was something like stomping jumping around upstairs when nobody was in the building. And so she was like, I didn't want to come back to work, but that was the only time I heard it. So they didn't have to get a medium, but
yeah, they didn't commit quite like the other group
no.
did.
Yeah, so I kind of said it as a joke. I was like, haha, I'm going to ask these people if they've got ghost stories just because lulz. And then they said yes.
That's awesome. I feel like the only time that it's appropriate to ask that and no one would think it's weird is when you're walking into a basement.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's why no one ever questions me on it.
Yeah.
I mean, I then proceeded to interrogate them about their soy milk.
And then I closed the restaurant because...
I felt really bad though because the gal, like, they had like the syrup containers and they were like really busy and I just wanted to get in and out so that way I wasn't interrupting them too much and there wasn't a whole lot to check. It was really small. Well, she drops the glass syrup container and it like explodes all over the floor and I was just like, we're done here. I'm like, I can't. And like the kitchen is like super tiny and I'm not supposed to be within 6 feet of people, but the kitchen's literally 6 feet and there's 2 other people in there and I'm like, ah! So I had everything I needed anyway, so I'm like, well, I'm just gonna go. You guys have fun. I asked them for a broom and I swept it up for them. I don't know if I made it better or worse, but
they're just like, give the health inspector whatever she wants. Like,
she needs a broom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I felt bad, but then I had somebody drop something yesterday. I was inspecting a Dairy Queen, and the poor gal just like drops the raspberry blizzard flavoring just all over the floor.
It must have looked like a crime scene in there.
It was pretty bad, and I felt because I mean they're like high schoolers. I don't know. Maybe they're like 25, and everyone just looks younger to me now or something. But they seem kind of young, and of course like. I make people nervous and they're dropping shit everywhere and it's exploding. I'm just oh my God.
Oh, funny.
But yeah, that was my ghost story for the week. What fun and excitement have you been up to other than trying to destroy everyone's hopes and dreams about the Minnesota Runestone?
Crushing fairies.
Yeah.
Well, working from home, it was like a all-day meeting kind of thing, which normally would suck, but since I was just sitting in bed, it was sort of like the equivalent of the equivalent of a movie day in high school. Like I just chilled.
I did that too. I put the piece of tape over the laptop camera and then I put in the headphones and then I just put the laptop on the bedstand so it doesn't overheat and burn me down and then I just get snuggled in under the covers and just listen like an audio.
Yes. Yeah, and then right now I'm baking some bread because I haven't done that yet. So, I mean, are you really quarantining until you've made some bread?
That's excited. I like that.
So, yeah, that's pretty much my...
Is it like sourdough?
No, oh, no. I'm going like Great British Bake Off.
Oh, God.
It's like a sun-dried tomato. Yeah. Sun-dried tomato, basil, garlic bread.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what the proof is on it once it's done. That was a bad accent, but anyway.
I like it.
I just remembered before we started this podcast, and I told you we were talking about Vikings today. You said, did they put a statue of Leif Erikson? Is what you're saying at like the Minnesota Capitol?
The Capitol complex. Yeah. So
why?
Not to date. Okay. Cool. Well, okay. So how I found out about this is as part of a protest, the Columbus statue came down.
Oh, yeah, and that's what they replaced it with?
And then I was like, why don't they replace that with some, like, Leif Erikson statue? Haha, kind of thinking about, like, the ball-ass, like, buff AF Leif Erikson statue that got gifted to Iceland. And,
yeah,
like,
hell yeah.
His calves.
Deadass. Yeah.
And it turns out there already is one. It's a block away. So there's totally been a Leif Erikson statue on the Capitol complex this whole time, and I had no idea. So
that's funny, but so random. Like, just
yeah.
I mean, I'm sure people listening to this are probably from the Midwest, but there's a huge Norwegian population. But otherwise, he has nothing to do with America. So
I don't know. I have no idea. Well, okay,
why?
So I think so. It's like the Columbus statue was there because it was, from my understanding, Italian Americans wanted to like promote themselves and like their culture or like an icon or whatever, so they chose Columbus.
I think there were better options.
I think so too.
To be honest.
I think there were many better options, but Columbus is what they went with. Cough, genocide, cough. But that's so I wonder if it was something similar where it was Scandinavian diaspora wanted a cool commemorative statue, so they went with Leif Erikson, who I guess, I don't know, was he a genocidal maniac? He had
Yeah.
sweet buns in the statue in Iceland. Anyways, yeah, Leif Erikson statue. And maybe if I have no idea how old it is. I just like looked it up online and it would have statues in Minnesota website and it just had a picture of him. But I wonder if we dig it up if we'll find a runestone underneath.
Right? That'd be pretty awesome. I mean, apparently they're around, so.
Yeah, just every farmstead has its own runestone just waiting to be uncovered.
I like an ancient lefse recipe.
Sweet. We're gonna find like 1,000-year-old sealed crate of like lutefisk or something. Just buried on a farm.
Oh my god. The forbidden lutefisk.
All lutefisk is forbidden. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh man. Alright, well we had better end this episode. Thanks for listening. We'll plug our shit here.
Yeah.
You can find us on Instagram at Paranormal Planes. And you can find us on Twitter at
Paraplanes because the full name didn't fit and I wasn't allowed to do spoopy Midwest stories. That was vetoed by our executive host.
Okay, if Paranormal Planes won't fit, I don't think that's gonna fit in my defense of that one. And we will catch you next time. Bye.
Bye. And don't fall into a haunted basement. And don't uncover any rune stones.
Don't eat the forbidden lutefisk.